Hello, my name is Sarah. I'm a registered nurse, and I welcome you to my second video that a series I'm doing titled "The Risk of Abortion." Now, today's focus is going to be on alternatives to abortion. In the first video I did, I shared a film titled "To Save a Life," and that was a video where it showed what goes on behind the scenes at abortion clinics. So if you haven't seen the first video, I recommend you go back and watch that first video. Then I'm going to continue on after this video, and I'm going to talk about the physical and mental and emotional risk of abortion, the spiritual risk of abortion, and then I'm going to end the series with a time of healing for those you've already had an abortion. And I know a lot of women who regret having abortion. They experience mental and emotional pain. So I'm going to end the series with a teaching or sharing information on that as well. So, but like I said, today's focus is going to be on alternatives to abortion. So stay on, and that part of the teaching will start. If you are facing an unplanned pregnancy, know this: you do have several options other than aborting the child. I'm going to be presenting information today from a website called birthmothers.org. Now, the information I'm going to present to you, I'm just going to do a brief overview of the alternatives to abortion that they have at their website, to help you make an informed decision, that's best for you and your child. Now, first option that, of course, you can have, deciding just, be up to parent the child. And if you're, if you're not married, you can go ahead and decide, if you're ready to make a commitment to both your partner and the child, choose to marry and raise the child together. That's the first option that you can have. Now, I know there's incidents where maybe a married couple already are not ready to parent, and they can, of course, are already married, but they can decide the other options that I'm going to cover here in a little bit. Well, if you're not ready to make that commitment to marrying, you can do what they call joint parenting, where you and your partner choose to share the responsibilities for raising your child in a joint custody arrangement. Then there's another option that you can consider, is what they call custodial parenting with visitation. This is where one partner is fully committed to raising a child and the other partner is less than fully committed. And then there's another option called custodial parenting. Now, this is where one partner is fully committed to raising a child, and the other partner is either unable to participate in parenting or, does not want to be a part of the child's life, or maybe even has exited the relationship altogether. Like I said, for more details on these options, you'll have to visit the website link I have below the video, and it gives you more details about how questions that you can ask yourself to help you come to these decisions that I've already mentioned. Now, the next option is what they call interim foster care. Now, I'd never really heard anything about this until I came across this website as an option to consider when you're experiencing an unplanned pregnancy. But interim foster care, it provides a loving, nurturing, short-term home for a newborn infant. It can last as little as a few hours or up to several months. Interim foster care families are skilled at caring for babies. This option offers flexibility while you decide what to do. So I think it's a good thing. Like I said, go to the website and you can look at more details on the interim foster care. goes into more detail about it. Of course, the most common, not even say common, but option that you have, of course, is just if you you don't want to go the abortion route, but you still are not in a position, maybe to raise a child because your finances or other reasons, you can put your child up for adoption. And there's a lot of parents out there. People are not parents, but a lot of couples out there that so desire a baby, and in particular a newborn baby. And it just doesn't make sense that there's a mother who doesn't want her child because of different reasons, like I said, financial reasons, it's just not the right time in your life. Maybe you're too young, or other reasons that you have. I mean, adoption, it's just the perfect thing, I think, in this type of situation, in my opinion. But adoptions, there's different types of adoptions, of course, and you can look into go to the website to get more details about these adoptions. Of course, they have what they have, the open adoption, and an open adoption allows for some level of direct contact between birth parents and the adopted parents and the child. So that's I think if I would have ever had to give my child up for adoption, I would have had to go. I probably couldn't have done it unless I went through that route where I could still have contact with the child. But that may not be, that's not for everybody. And there's also what they call semi-open adoptions, and it's also called a mediated adoption. And mediated adoption is a variation of open adoption, and it's prior to placement. The birth parents and pre-adoptive parents exchange mostly non-identifying information. And once the child is placed in the adoptive home, the adopted child may have contact with the birth family that involves pictures, letters, or other types of communications sent through the adoption agency or the attorney who assists with the placement. So there's it's a little different than the first one, the open adoption. Of course, then there's the closed adoption, and that's your traditional adoption. Of course, we all know what a closed adoption is. I mean, it allows for no direct contact between the birth parents or the adoptive parents and the child. So those are the options that are out there if you decide you do not want to go the abortion route in an unplanned pregnancy. And so down below the video in the description box, you have all sorts of information, phone numbers, other links to get more information at the birth mother's website. They are a great resource for those who are experiencing an unplanned pregnancy, and I highly recommend them. In fact, stay on here because up next is going to be a video, a film that's going to talk about this, that's going to present this ministry and what they do for women who are experiencing an unplanned pregnancy. So please stay on and continue watching. That's coming up. But also I'm going to be showing a film about a woman who decided to keep her baby, even with the pressure of other people telling her to abort. She made the decision to keep her child, and she shares her story. So please stay on and to view both of these films. One about the birth mother's ministry, and the other one is titled My Son Chose to Live. So, all right. Thank you.
So when I saw the pregnancy test was positive, I was so scared. I didn't know what to do. I felt so alone. I didn't have anybody to talk to, anybody I can trust. And then I heard about birth mothers. I gave them a call, and they offered to connect me with a birth mother friend. And I am so glad they did. My friend is awesome, and she listens and understands. If a woman out there is pregnant and she doesn't know what to do, I tell her to call birth mothers. They care and they listen. They'll match you with a friend. She'll be there for you no matter what. You don't need to go through this alone. Just call.
Birth mothers and all the wonderful work it does in caring for women with unplanned pregnancies, caring for them in emotional, spiritual, and practical ways that really no other group in America does. Birth mothers, it is extraordinarily entrepreneurial. Now, many of us are fervently opposed to abortion. I've written about the subject many, many times, I'm proud to say. On the other hand, Jim has gone out on his own and organized something that actually saves lives, not only of unborn children, but of the women with an unplanned pregnancy.
I'm looking at this going, okay, you've got all these abortions, you've got all these people seeking to adopt. What's happening here? Why aren't these two being placed together? Isn't it simple?
When birth moms call us, they really need a friend, and that's what we have. So we match birth moms one-on-one with a friend who can provide emotional support and spiritual support and help connect them to the resources in the community that they need. That one-on-one friendship is really what we're all about.
There's no substitute for that one-on-one opportunity, because that's what it is. It's an opportunity.
For some people, birth mothers has got to be here. How I wish you were there for me all those years ago. 13 years they've been in business. This is no fly-by-night outfit.
God is calling every one of us with a special purpose for us. And you may have a role to play in this birth mother's ministry.
What a remarkable, wonderful, godly, brave organization Birth Mothers is.
A 2006 study by the Guttmacher Institute states 3 million annual pregnancies in the United States were unplanned. 42% of these unintended pregnancies were terminated by abortion. According to the study, the two most important reasons given for aborting an unplanned pregnancy were concerns for or responsibility to other individuals and the inability to afford a baby.
Unfortunately, my husband was incarcerated at the time of my pregnancy and wasn't around, so I was by myself. I have no family out here. I was very scared. I was living out of my car. I was homeless at the time and didn't know where I was going to turn.
For Lisa, her help came in the form of Birth Mothers, a Christian faith-based organization dedicated to providing non-judgmental assistance to any woman facing an unplanned pregnancy, regardless of age, race, religion, income, or marital status.
When I was a little girl, I witnessed my mom struggle through her mental illness, and my grandmother having to take over her responsibilities and holding down a full-time job. And my sister became pregnant during that time at 14 years old, and it was devastating for her being such a child herself, and it was just so hard to watch her and not to be able to do anything about it. But I always had a compassion for her situation and young women like her.
Founded in 1996 by Jim Wright, Birth Mothers has recruited, trained, and matched more than 400 friends with birth moms, family members, and birth dads.
Birth Mothers was established with this mission statement: to help a woman overcome the barriers to choosing life for her baby and facilitate adoption when the woman concludes, not us, but when the woman concludes it's in the best interest of her child.
Birth Mothers was created from Jim Wright's personal experience with adoption.
In 1985, I got some alarming news. In March of 1985, I learned I was HIV positive from contaminated blood products. And I married in 1986. My wife was free of the virus, but in 1989, she contracted the virus as well. In 1990 through 91, we were seeking to adopt a child. We were in the marketplace talking to birth mothers. What we found in this process was these women weren't going to church. They didn't have a church to go to. They felt condemned being pregnant out of wedlock.
Women facing an unplanned pregnancy are often left with few, if any, viable options for choosing life for their baby. They feel alone, afraid, helpless, and here is where the church can lend a helping hand.
My role is to provide practical assistance, emotional support, and spiritual encouragement to women that comes to birth mothers. Whether the birth mom chooses to parent, place for an adoption, or ultimately chooses abortion, our main responsibility is to provide love, compassion, and assistance to the birth mom throughout her struggle. Our ultimate goal is to facilitate life for the baby and for the mom.
Jim began his quest by building relationships with local churches to recruit women to become friends. Since then, Birth Mothers has continued to work hand in hand with congregations to grow church teams that minister to pregnant women in their communities.
The church is the primary instrument of God's reconciling and adoptive love. Every church is made up of people who are called to reflect the compassion of Christ. And at Birth Mothers, it's our job to equip them to reach out to hurting families. The local church is where we find our friends and volunteers. The church offers prayer support, spiritual guidance, financial resources, and encouragement in order to make an impact in the lives of women and families in our community.
John Yates is the senior pastor of Falls Church in Virginia, one of Birth Mothers' partnering churches.
The Birth Mothers organization helps us make the need known in our church family about people dealing with crisis pregnancy. They help us recruit and train men and women who become friends of the folks who are going through this crisis time in their lives. They will help them get to crisis pregnancy centers. They will help them get medical care. They'll help them get to adoption centers. If they need places to live, help in any way they help them with. You know, it really is like an infrastructure made available to our church to help us minister to people in this time of need.
The church provides the actual network of love and support so needed by these families. And we at Birth Mothers provide the strategy, consultation, training, and ministry support to equip God's people to serve women and families in need.
Through the help, support, and love of her birth mother friend, Lisa is now enjoying a beautiful life with her little girl, Michaela.
Birth Mothers matched me with Pam and Vincent. They opened their house generously to me, and I stayed with them for about 2 months during my pregnancy. And from there I moved on to Mary's house, which caters to pregnant women. I still keep in contact with Pam and her husband. They bring by gifts for the baby, and we do family picnics on occasion. I also keep in touch with Birth Mothers and get donated clothes and diapers when they have them. If it wasn't for Birth Mothers, I don't know where I would be.
If you or someone you know is struggling through a crisis pregnancy, or if you would like to know how you can foster your church to become a partner church of Birth Mothers, call Birth Mothers at 1-877-77-BIRTH and visit www.birthmothers.org and www.birthmotherministries.org.